Blimey, what a week it was last week. The general election's over. I am totally politicked out. So the Lowdown have let me come down the M1. I've come to Sheffield, a small town on the edge of Leeds. They've let me come down to talk about films. Way! I'm here at DocFest, which is an international film festival for documentaries. People come from all over the world to DocFest. They come to watch films, they come to talk to filmmakers, they come to see if they can get money for their films. Now, I've heard a rumour. Stacey Dooley, the filmmaker, the documentary filmmaker from BBC Three, she's in the Crucible at the moment. See if we can find her. I'm looking for Stacey Dooley. Talk about that sort of journey that you went on then, because you went on the show as a kind of participant, someone who loves fashion. You then discovered the very darker side of the fashion industry, ended up campaigning. Now you meet a lot of women and girls who are in really difficult situations. Is that, again, totally changed? Are you quite a pessimist about life these days, or is that, do you know what I mean, emotionally that must be quite challenging, because you are really meeting women who are up against things?
Yeah, no, you're totally right. People often ask this. They say, "Oh, do you lose faith, and do you think that, you know, the world is a really dark, sort of harrowing place?" And I think in some circumstances it definitely is, because you meet these girls who are so amazing and so brilliant, but, you know, for one reason or another their lives are really chaotic and they're vulnerable and they've been through the mill. And but when you're in these situations, and it sounds again sort of very cheesy and a bit Miss World, but you have to sort of concentrate on the fact that there are often brilliant NGOs or brilliant individuals who are really trying to fight the evil.
Those are the campaigning organisations out there
that
are doing the work to try and help
so wherever
people.
There's dark situations or people going through a really horrific time, there are also really brilliant people trying to counterbalance that and trying to help them.
People said that after the Manchester attacks, didn't they? They said we've seen the worst of humans over the last few days, and also the best.
Yeah, and I can really understand where they're coming from, because that's what I do. You know, just in the Philippines, the back end of last year. No, it was start of this year. It was 2017. The start of this year, and you know, some of the stories were the most horrific I've actually ever heard throughout my 10 years. And you go home and you have a bit of a cry, and you're listening to these stories for sort of 15, 16, 17 hours a day. But then you also meet women that have kind of given up their lives and, you know, put their families to one side to try and help these people they don't even know. So you have to stay optimistic.
How did she come across? When I met her, well, I just fell in love with her, basically.
No, she was so natural. She was really nice. Exactly what she's like on TV, which is really cool.
Do you really like her stuff on telly?
I think it's very accessible, and I think she has a unique style of presenting where it's not really formal, and it's very much accessible, especially for young people.
I find it very interesting. We love her documentaries, really, don't we? We watch them as soon as they come out. And
what do you love about them?
Honest.
Yeah, they're very honest. She gets really into it, and it's quite emotional, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it even makes you cry, doesn't it?
Representation, whether it's film or documentary, is part of how that happened. People changed their understanding of the world because of the kind of representation they saw. So in those years from 1957 to 67, when in the build-up to homosexual law reform, it's the films that make a difference.
So DocFest then is an important festival for yourself, being New York based. It's still an important festival to be part of, is it, as a documentary filmmaker?
As a documentary filmmaker, Sheffield DocFest is a must-do on the stop in the UK and sort of on the global scale as well.
Tell us about Strong Island.
Strong Island is a film about my brother's murder 25 years ago. How race influenced the investigation into the crime, how he essentially was turned into the prime suspect in his own murder, its effect on my family, and ultimately the question of who decides what is reasonable fear.
So that explosion of everyone making films, everyone having a story to tell, we come together and everyone can share their stories, look at other people's and discuss their own. So that's very much what the festival's about.
Tell us about some of the highlights that's going to be on. Let's talk about Wednesday. What can people see if they come down on Wednesday?
Yeah, so Wednesday's a very, very special day for us. I mean, you can see alternate realities, which I have just discussed, but also we're marking the occasion, the very, very sad occasion of Joe Cox MP's death. In memory of Joe, and Brendan Cox is very keen for us to express this, we want to come together and unite and celebrate the memory of Joe Cox.
So Sheffield is really buzzing today thanks to DocFest. I've had a fabulous, fabulous time. It's on until Wednesday the 14th, so there's still plenty of time to get yourself down here if you fancy soaking up some of the atmosphere, seeing some of the documentary films, and if you're lucky, you might just bump into some of the filmmakers.